So thank you for the opportunity to present our work on the summer academic research experience and more the overarching pipeline initiative, which we've now created called the Johns Hopkins Initiative for Careers in Science and Medicine, helping scholars overcome socioeconomic barriers. This is a pipeline initiative that did start initially as SARE out of my laboratory about 13 years ago. And so today I'm happy and pleased to get to share with you what we've accomplished and, frankly, more importantly, what all of our scholars are accomplishing. So it's important, I think, as everybody appreciates, that need and opportunity are central, and that socioeconomic disparity is harmful to our society. It is one of the single most important determinants of health outcomes. And we live in Baltimore. We're located in Baltimore City, where 34% of the children grow up in poverty, which is nearly 3 times the national rate, which is pretty incredible. And students from low-income backgrounds are far less likely to graduate high school, matriculate into college, and graduate college. However, we believe very strongly that any young person should have the opportunity to achieve and succeed. So to try to help with this, we set out a goal, and the vision is to change the career trajectory of our scholars, and in so doing, impact them, their families, and our communities. And our mission through the Johns Hopkins Initiative for Careers in Science and Medicine is to help talented, hardworking young people from low-income backgrounds succeed in advanced fields, particularly in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medical sciences, or STEM with a double M. And to accomplish this, we created the CSM Initiative, which includes 5 programs. It starts, the earliest component is a 1-week Fun with Science camp for 5th graders. We then have 2 high school programs in SARE and BRBT, an undergraduate portion, which is called the CSM Summer Internship Program, and then a postbaccalaureate portion called the Doctoral Diversity Program, or DDP. And as of this summer, we have had 480 scholars come through our programs. So what are the criteria to be a CSM scholar? So first, every scholar must meet each of 3 criteria. They must come from a household that has household income less than 200% of the federal poverty level. They must be educationally under-resourced, which is most common. There's many ways a scholar can identify as educationally under-resourced. The most common is first-generation college, or they were from a high school where the majority are also low income, or from a single-parent household. In addition, our scholars must be talented, motivated, and eager to succeed. It's also worth pointing out that many of our scholars are overcoming an enormous number of additional obstacles. For example, scholars may be coming from households that are at or below the federal poverty limit. We've had a number of scholars over the years who have come from households who reported $0. We know that many of our scholars have been homeless. There are different definitions of homeless. One version is that they have lived out on the street at some point. Another is that they don't have a permanent address. And we know that we've had scholars that have been homeless in either of those ways. In addition, many scholars have come from households that have been affected by incarceration, addiction, and one or more modes of abuse. But it's really important to realize and appreciate that every scholar is unique, and this is not a one-size-fits-all. I just wanted you to get a sense of some of the additional obstacles in addition to simply being educationally under-resourced and low income. That becomes a mountain that our scholars have to climb. So I'm going to walk you through the different components and start with the 5th grade camp, Fun with Science camp. And the goal of this is to inspire the scholars to excel academically, to stimulate their curiosity in STEM, and empower them to want to pursue a STEM career. It's a 1-week camp for 5th graders from Baltimore City. Typically, there's about 16 per year, and to date, 174 have come through the program. The high school scholars, our programs at this level include 2, the Summer Academic Research Experience, which we house here out of the medical school, and also the Biophysics Research for Baltimore Teens, which is housed out of the Homewood campus. By having 2 sister programs, it allows us to take advantage of 2 major components of the Hopkins campus. The goal or the objective is to expose low-income students to a strong academic environment, to drive our students forward academically. No such thing as the summer slide. We seek to teach them a high standard of professionalism and inspire confidence through achievement. It's an 8-week program that runs in the summertime, and our scholars largely are from Baltimore, but not exclusively. We've had some from Atlanta, Georgia, and a couple from New Orleans at this point. And to scholars to date, typically come through community partners such as Boys Hope, Girls Hope of Baltimore, Seed School of Maryland, Green Street Academy, and many, many more. And we've had 190 scholars to date. More than 83%, at SARE it's about 98% now, but there's always some tracking challenges, so we just give you the bottom threshold there. More than 83% have gone on to college, and about 73% are pursuing STEM majors. In terms of longitudinal outcomes, I'm going to use SARE as an example, where 34 of our scholars have now reached at least 4 years post-high school graduation. Of these, 19 have graduated 4 years post, okay? That's 54%. 13 of the 19 have graduated with degrees in STEM, so it's 68%. Several are still in college, and so we fully anticipate that that percentage is going to rise. And at least 2 are currently in or will begin graduate or medical school. Currently at 54%, but with 70% still being a possibility, that's incredible when you consider the national average of college completion rate for scholars from low-income backgrounds, which is typically between 10 and 14%, depending on the source that you examine. And I should say that this national average considers 6 years post-high school. So we've actually made our calculation even stricter, more challenging. How about the undergraduate portion? So this is the CSM Summer Internship Program. And the goal here is to provide mentored research experience, to expose scholars to STEM professionals through a Lunch and Learn series, developed increased skills and greater independence, and build a tangible set of accomplishments, including co-authoring papers. Oh, and I should mention our high schoolers also co-author papers. The program is 10 weeks long. And our scholars come from all across the US territories and tribes. And we've had representatives from all components. And typically we'll have 15 to 16 per year, or 87 to date. And 58% of our CSM SIPs have gone on to pursue graduate or medical school. And 9% actually came back to our postback portion. So what is the postback portion like? So the goal here is to prepare scholars to enter medical and or graduate school, to expose them to STEM professionals, and to help our scholars develop a serious list of accomplishments. In this case, our scholars many times produce one or many more publications during their 2-year stint here. It is a 2-year research intensive mentored internship. And again, our scholars come from all across the US territories and tribes. Typically, we'll have between 5 and 8 scholars per year, 37 to date. And in terms of outcomes, 81% have gone on to pursue MD, MBA, MD, PhD, or PhD programs. Another 12% have completed or are pursuing Masters of Science degrees. We've had one that's gone on to become a biology teacher and Teach for America, which we think is also a very cool outcome, and another is a research scientist. Okay, I want to give you a flavor. So every program has its own unique appropriate set of curriculum and programming. I'm going to give you just the high school as one example, so you get a little bit of an idea of what it really means. So here we have a very large component that structured curriculum includes writing, mathematics, science, and bioethics. There again is the Lunch and Learn seminar series where they get to learn from people who are faculty members or even scientists from pharma world who come in. They're typically or frequently from diverse backgrounds, and they will come in and share their career trajectory and their career path. We talk about the college application process, financial aid, and even financial literacy. We have people from area banks come in and share how to set up a bank account and how to plan out financially. There's a very in-depth laboratory science experience, and included is extensive mentorship. Now I should point out that this programming has great impact. And I love this quote from one of our SARE scholars, where calculus was easy after SARE. And this is from Christopher Miller, who went on and got his bachelor's degree in mathematics and is actually now in software world, still considering going back and finishing his PhD in mathematics. But right now he's loving the computer science world. And so this gives you an idea of the programming, but I want to tell you that this has even deeper components. So if I take bioethics as one example, here a few years ago, every year in the bioethics portion, we have the students read a series of case reports, and they were having a deep discussion about the ethics of providing money, financial compensation to people from diverse low-income backgrounds to participate in a clinical study. And the scholars said, wait a second, we have so many issues in our own world, we don't have the bandwidth to worry about another community. This led to a very deep discussion about what challenges they felt that they were dealing with. And they were very substantial and very real. And so we took this as an opportunity, and along with some of our connections, to get them to have a face-to-face meeting with Congressman Elijah Cummings back in 2018, where they got to share their ideas and concerns with their congressman, their representative. And this was a very impactful event for our scholars, I think hopefully for the congressman as well, and for myself to be a fly on the wall and get to watch this all happen. It was pretty spectacular. So this is an example of how the program tries to be very responsive to challenges and needs and opportunities as they present. But it is a pipeline initiative, and I love this. This is Dwayne Thomas. He was first a SARE Scholar, one of our very early SARE Scholars. He then was graduating college, and we realized he needed a little bit more to be able to get to where he wanted to be, and so that he was the motivation behind creating the DDP program. And he was a perfect fit for that. And last fall, he sends me this picture. This is a photograph of him and during his white coat ceremony. And he and I had a text exchange talking about all the things that were going on. And one of his statements was, "I've made it." And that is the point. That is the goal of the CSM initiative. Of course, this doesn't work without a team. We have a great team of faculty and staff members who help execute all the various programs and make sure all the components work together. A particular shout out to Laura Murphy, who really makes SARE program work and helps bring the whole CSM initiative together. And of course, none of this happens without our funders, because it turns out you need money to be able to make things happen. And so we've had the collection of great supporters over many years now, and constantly, of course, fundraising to help grow the program even more widely. And with that, I'd be very happy to take any questions.
All right, terrific. Thank you, Doug, both for the talk and for your efforts in this space. We're starting to run up a little bit close to when we want to start our next session. We have time for a couple questions. If anybody puts them in the Q&A, we'll just take a short break, probably a 5-minute break between the end of Doug's talk and the start of the new session, so we won't be starting too late. I guess I just want to say, what to you has really been the biggest challenge? I mean, you've set up a whole slew of programs and you've been tracking, how they coordinate. What's been the biggest challenge in running these programs for you?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge, I would say sort of twofold. We're constantly raising money in order to be able to do it. And the reason why that is so important and so critical, to give you an idea, if we take our undergrad or our postbac portions, which do nationwide searches for the applicant pool comes from all across the country, as I mentioned. And in a given year, it's not uncommon for us to have so many stellar applicants that our acceptance rate, for example, for our postbac program, runs between 3 and 5%. So put that in perspective. It's actually as hard or harder to get into the DDP program as it is to get into Hopkins MSTP, that's the MD PhD program, or med school. And in addition, to give you just tell you how important it is, we have never yet made an offer to a scholar that they didn't accept it. That tells you there's tremendous need. And so constantly we are needing to raise more funds because there's that many stellar applicants in the pool. And it is always heartbreaking to have to decline someone. So that I would say that's probably first and foremost. Is in terms of challenges. Now, the good news is that, with resources, we have the ability actually now in place to create a national alliance with multiple other institutions in order to be able to create more fluidity. So a lot of us got to train in a lot of different institutions, around the country. And so we're trying to create that as an opportunity for our scholars to have something similar. So I would say in a way that's one challenge. The other major challenge is, I don't know if we really want to call this a challenge, but the program is designed, we've had to be very responsive, introspective, and constantly doing a lot of QA, QC across the board, because we were constantly learning about our scholars over the years. And we wanted to make sure we had all the appropriate programming in place. And so there was a lot of evolution of the programming. And while I would say it's perfected, 13 years out, we're still always trying to improve it. So it's been an incredible experience in that regard.